Dinesh Wadhwani. Thanks for joining me today. I have a very special guest with me today. His name is David Schirmer. You may remember him from the movie The Secret. If you have not watched the movie The Secret, please watch it. It's going to change your life. So David, thanks again for joining me today. My first question to you is, a lot of people have watched the movie The Secret, but not many people are able to manifest the things that they want. What do you think they're doing wrong?
Thanks for that question, Dinesh. I think the answer is huge. We could talk for days on that. The key that I find is most people who watch The Secret don't really understand how the mind works, and so what happens is they have seen The Secret and understand the law of attraction on a very basic level, but rather than understand on how it works or how a person has to change their focus, because the fact is that every result we have in our life, every circumstance we have in our life, is a confluence of our past thoughts, feelings and actions. It is always a direct result of the paradigms or the images we hold in our subconscious mind. And so what people tend to do is want something to change rather than be something that's already changed, and so they focus on the future rather than the future already being now. And so our lives literally become what we believe, but you can't believe in something happening in the future because your subconscious mind has no concept of time. And so we have to bring it to now. And one of the things I get people to do to start off with is to actually create a vision statement in present tense. I'm so happy and grateful now that I have, or that I am. And that then starts to change the subconscious mind to what we focus on, because our current circumstances, our current results is a direct reflection of our self-image, the image we hold of ourselves. And so that's probably the biggest thing that people can do, is to change what they're focusing on, but believing it has already happened. I remember my revelation around what Jesus said. He said, when you pray believing that it is already yours, and if you do, it will be. And so we have to actually believe that it's already ours. And if we don't do that, we're like a two-minded man, where we're focused on our present circumstances, and we're focused on what we want. We're focused on the lack and poverty, and we're focused on the wealth and prosperity. What happens, as it says in the Bible, is you get tossed to and fro, and you never amount to anything. So we have to actually realize we need to focus on what it is we truly desire, but as if it is already ours now. That's the biggest key in The Secret.
And are there any mental exercises that we can do to make that happen?
Yeah, because it does come back to first of all, understanding how the subconscious mind and the mind work together, and then going through a process to actually change those images. The moment we change the images we hold in our subconscious mind, the paradigms we have, the moment results start to change. Now, some people think just by sitting at the kitchen table and humming that money's going to fall into their lap. It doesn't happen. There's always action behind this. But a person, first of all, has to decide what it is they want. And to decide means to cut off all other options, to literally say, this is what I'm going to have, and then bring it into present tense and focus and believe that it already has happened. See, faith, which is part of belief, faith is the title deed of something that you own that you cannot or have not yet seen. And so once we move to that understanding, and we focus on as if we already own it, it's only a matter of time where we move it from the spiritual realm through the mental into the physical realm, and we physically own it. But see, many people are living in hope, wishing and wanting, rather than believing.
You mentioned action. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I say. Some people think they can sit at the kitchen table, hum, and money's going to fall out of the ceiling. That doesn't work. The misunderstanding in The Secret is that people think just because they have focused on something that their life is going to change. The law of attraction, go and just focus on a feather and you're going to get a feather in your life, or focus on money and money's going to come to your life. That's not true. And that's where people get confused and disillusioned with the law of attraction and The Secret. But the truth is, there's a number of steps we have to take. We first of all have to decide what it is we want. Once we decide what it is we want, we then have to believe without doubt it's ours. That it's ours now. It is ours now in the spirit realm, and we're waiting for it to move into the physical realm. And once we do that, we then have to act. We then have to actually act on what it is. Now you might say, well, I don't know what to do. For example, someone's income might be $50,000 a year, and they're barely scraping by in life. Or they've got bills to pay, and they want to change their circumstances. Well, by walking around the house and say, I have $1 million, I have $1 million, and doing nothing else, that's the beginning of delusion, because you're not actually acting towards it. Now, you might not know exactly what to do, and if you did, you would have already done it. The key is to start with what you know what to do. The first thing of what do I do now that this is me, that I now have $1 million. Now, even though that you don't physically in the account, you have it in the if I call it the spirit realm, in the creation realm. You believe you are now have $1 million, or that you earn $1 million a year, for example. Now, what would you need to do to be that person? And start doing it. There has to be action. One of the biggest confusions with The Secret is that people think it's just going to happen just by focusing on it. But there has to be action, because faith without works is dead. That means having faith without action, without doing something, is not going to actually create anything. It's just going to create delusion.
Right.
Yeah.
Amen. I'm going to move on to my next question. Do you believe that The Secret and the law of attraction are actually based on the Bible or biblical principles?
Absolutely. And again, this has created a lot of challenges with Christians who don't actually understand the process of creation. And so right from the very beginning, the very first words in the Bible, we see part of God's whole plan is this law of attraction. Now, people think it's some new age principle. It's not. It is as old as time itself. Because you see in the first verses in the Bible, it says the world was without form and void, and darkness crept upon the face of the earth. And now that word void, if you do a word study on it, means potential awaiting direction. Now, how does potential get direction? In our own lives, how does potential get direction? It comes from action. It comes from acting on the potential to actually create something from it. And so God never had a committee meeting and said, it's dark, it's dark, it's dark, what do we do? Let's just hum and think and it's going to happen. No, he said, let there be light. He spoke words into the darkness. And this is the law of attraction. This is The Secret. This is speaking and claiming what it is that we want as if it has already happened. He said, let there be light. And there was light. And so in our own lives, we have to do the same. It's exactly the same principle. We have to, the situation is not how we want it. And so then we speak exactly how we want it to be. And so if a person is living in lack and poverty, and they're consciously complaining about their lack and poverty, it's only going to create more. What they have to do is they have to speak prosperity into that situation. They have to actually speak abundance into that situation. Because all that will happen if they keep complaining and whinging and focusing on what they don't have, they will continue to not have. And that's really the principles of the law of attraction.
Another part to this question is I see, I just want to put it out there that I love everybody. Doesn't matter what faith, religion you come from, whether you're Muslim or Hindu or Buddhist, Jew, it doesn't matter. What I've seen is, I totally agree with what you just said, but I also see non-Christians who are prospering. And my understanding of that is that these laws work for everybody, whether you're Christian or you're not, just like the law of gravity works for everybody. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I believe that God didn't say, well, here's a universe, here's a world, here's certain laws that govern the world, and they're just for this group of people. It's for all mankind. It's for all people, regardless of their faith or belief. A person that you mentioned, gravity. Gravity works regardless of a person's belief. In fact, they don't even have to believe in gravity for gravity to work. If a 6-month-old baby is on a 10-floor building and crawls off the balcony, they're going to go down. The baby doesn't understand gravity, but gravity still works. The baby doesn't have to have any degree of faith, any religious persuasion, or anything. The gravity still works, and the law of attraction works. It's part of the universal laws that God put into place right from before the beginning of time. And there are a lot of people that say, oh, the law of attraction, the secret, doesn't work. Well, that's based on ignorance. It's based on ignorance. It's working for them. They don't understand it. Just like gravity, you don't have to understand it. It still works. And if you actually are doing things that will cause harm to you or others and don't understand the law of attraction doesn't care. It'll still work.
Right.
Yeah.
One other thing I've noticed in the Bible is that God created everything by speaking it, by saying it. And the word say is mentioned in the Bible many times. In addition to believing it in your mind and your heart and your soul, I believe you also have to say it, right? And then when you're in a meditation state or sleeping, you have to also visualize what you're believing for. Is that? Do you believe that to be a true statement?
Oh, absolutely. Our words are very powerful. In fact, the Bible says the before the world was the Word, and the Word created the world. And so we can do a study on that, and there's lots of different meanings we can draw from that. But literally, the spoken word is so much more powerful than many people understand. See, our word causes this vibration to emanate not just from our mouths but through our entire bodies. It actually causes a vibration, and everything is a vibration, and things are attracted to us or repelled from us from this level of vibration. And whether it's our words or whether it's our thoughts, everything is a vibration. And this is why when we change the paradigms in our subconscious mind, what happens is we also start to speak differently, because we speak out of our heart. Our heart is really not the thing that pumps blood. It's another word for our subconscious or other than conscious mind. And so we speak out the words from our heart, what we really and truly believe. Now, people can be fake for a certain amount of time, but they can't be fake all the time. And so people speak the words, and this causes a vibration, and the vibration causes us to attract or repel. If a person is speaking out, complaining all the time about their situation, about their relationships, or about their financial situation, or about their health, and they're speaking negatively but believing positively, then it's like it cancels it out. The person can't actually achieve anything better in their life. They can't change their circumstances if they're speaking words against themselves. And so you never see anywhere in the Bible, and we look at the creation process, of God complaining about being dark but speaking words of light. And in fact, in any person's life, if they're not speaking the things that they truly desire, they can never have them. as far as with regards to prosperity and abundance goes, well, some of the worst words that people use is the words "I can't afford it." Because the moment we say "I can't afford it," we're telling our entire being, our body, our subconscious mind, and the universe, that to take money away from us or not to allow us to afford that. And so a better thing to say is, how can I afford it? Because the moment we pose a question, our mind then goes to work of, okay, how can I do that? And what you said about this house is exactly really the basis of the secret. It's the basis of the law of attraction. It's the basis of creation. We speak our world into existence, and so when I first understood this, the very first thing I did is I put it into practice with a car, and I attracted a car into my life, and then a home, and so on. And so in many of my seminars, I've asked people put their hand up who actually bought their first home and didn't know where the deposit was going to come from, and I always get a lot of people say, well, I didn't know. And I said, well, how did it happen? And they said, well, I just believed. Everyone has actually done the secret. Everyone has done the law of attraction. What happens is people don't realize what they're doing, and they don't do it on purpose with the rest of their life. And the biggest key from the secret is to understand the process of creation, of how we were so uniquely designed by God to be these co-creators with Him, and that we have been given certain faculties with our mind, with our imagination, and with our thoughts, with our entire being, that we can co-create practically anything we desire. Most people are creating what they don't want in their life because they don't understand that. But you can just as easily create the life you desire, and that's really what I get passionate about in teaching people to create the life of what they desire.
I've been researching successful people for many years, and one common thread I find among them is their mindset. They have a do-or-die mindset, and what I mean by that is when they set their minds on a specific goal, they go after it, and they never give up. They may that goal may come from an inspired thought, and they act on it immediately. They don't wait, they act on it immediately. If they fail, they get back up and they try again. They may tweak things, but they never give up. Even if the rug gets pulled from under them, that is only temporary. They get back on the horse, and they get right back to what they were set their mind to. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, the reason people live in mediocrity or not having the life they truly desire is mostly they never make success a must. So they never actually make the decision that this is what I'm going to do and that's it. Many people have a plan B. If this fails, well, I'll do this. And I say to people, don't have a plan B, have a plan A, have only a plan A, and decide what it is you want. And see, the word decide has been convoluted over the years in our English language. The word decide comes from two Latin words, decidere, which means to cut off. And to decide means to cut off all other possibilities. And see, it's the same whether it's relationships or money or anything else. See, when a person gets married, or two people get married, there needs to be a decision made that we're married. Now, a decision means to cut off all other possibilities. What happens is that if a relationship is being challenged, if that doesn't happen, it'll quickly escalate to divorce. Where if a person has made that decision, there is no other possibility. This has to be resolved. This has to be sorted. It's the same with finances. It's the same with everything in our life. We have to make a decision, which means to cut off all other possibilities. And with success, if a person says, "Okay, I'm dissatisfied. I no longer want the circumstances I'm in, whatever those circumstances are, particularly around finances. I'm no longer going to settle for $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. For some that'll be a lot of money. For some that won't be much. But whatever your income, you can actually decide that you're going to have a different life. And so if a person decides, I'm going to make $1 million a year, that's just a decision. It's nothing else. But it's a decision means you cut off all other possibilities, which means you don't shut up, give up, or quit. There is no such thing as quitting. You have to make the decision. And so the biggest thing the person can do, as I said earlier on, is to decide to write out what it is they want their life to look like in present tense. To make that decision, I'm going to do this regardless of what happens. I'm going to achieve this regardless of the obstacles, because guaranteed there will be obstacles. You know, we all think that success just should look like this, just a linear line from here to here. The trouble is it doesn't. It looks like this. It's all over the place. And because what happens, challenges come in the way, different things happen, life happens. And when life happens, if you don't have an absolute resolve to your outcome, to your success, or your vision that you want, then you'll get sidetracked. You'll go off some other path. You'll end up where you don't want to be. And so making it a must, turning your shoulds into musts, is so important.
Great. I'm going to move on to my next question. How important do you think it is to have more than one source of income, and what recommendations do you have for people that are watching this video?
Okay, that's my forte really. At age 23 to sort of, I don't know, 23 to 28, I found myself broke. My background is farming. I grew up on the land. I didn't have any specific skill set other than farming, and I'd moved into business, and something happened in the business. The business collapsed. I left the business, and I found myself wandering around in the wilderness for 5 years, if you like, and that was my only source of income. And I started then to read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And Think and Grow Rich has actually changed my life. There's a number of books that have made a massive difference, but it has, apart from the Bible, it has made the biggest difference in my life. And I started to read that book, and I realized that successful people have multiple sources of income. You never put all your eggs into one basket. You create multiple sources of income. Now, the first thing, like I've taught this for many years to people in seminars and mastermind groups, etc. And the first thing people will say, well, I can't do that. I'm already working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. Well, straight away, you're actually coming from a paradigm of I can't rather than how can I. And you actually believe that making more money takes more time. See, many people have this false concept that making more money will require more of themselves. Yet, in front of us all, there are examples of the likes of Bill Gates, who makes a lot more money and doesn't have any more time than you or I. And so money is not equal to time. And so the first thing I get people to do is make a decision to create multiple sources of income. More than one source. Yes, you have a job, that's okay, or you have a business, that's okay. But create income sources outside of that. That if anything happens to one, you have other income sources. Now, I say to people, start with your passion or your primary source of income. That's going to be the thing that keeps you alive right now. But you can have other sources of income. And I then started to look at things like share investing and trading. And so I threw my energy and learning into that for a time. Anyone can do it. It's not difficult. There's a lot of wrong information or misinformation in the market, but anyone can make money out of the stock market. For example, I've taught thousands of people to make 25 to 30% per annum just trading blue chip stocks. Anyone can do it. It's not difficult. It doesn't matter whether you're a single mum or whether you work at Macca's on part-time income. Everyone can become a millionaire in under 15 years by simply saving 10% of their income and investing it wisely. Most people don't know how to do that. But see, that's one income source. You need to create multiple income sources. So I have numerous income sources, and I'm always looking for other income sources. And so network marketing is a way that people can create another income source. Now, do you have to earn, thousands of dollars a month to make it work? No, because see, the first income that people make, for example, in a job or business, actually keeps them alive. Puts a house, puts a roof over their head, gives them food, gives them transportation. Out of that comes taxes, etc. Now, any money made beyond that has a multiple effect. So if a person is actually making, for example, just a round number, $1,000 a week. If they're making $1,000 a week, it might be costing them $800 a week to live in rent and food and so on. That means what's left over after taxes, etc., might be $200. Now, if they went and made another $200 a month, just that's $50 a week, another $200 a month, and they can do that quite easily in something like network marketing. If they make $200 a month, they've doubled their wealth creation ability. People forget that. They've doubled it. And so create multiple sources of income. There's things like internet marketing or affiliate marketing on the internet, property development, or going into a joint venture with people in property. I do renovations, so that started just because I was bored one day, but I started doing some renovation. I learned how to renovate. I put my own sweat equity into some of them, but you can get a very big uplift in equity by finding an old property and doing some renovation. Now, if you don't have the capital to buy the old property, get some other people involved. You might put in the sweat equity, and that sweat equity turns out to be money. So there's lots and lots and lots of ways to create multiple streams of income, but make sure you have an intention to do it. Set a vision, have that part of your vision, that I now have multiple sources of income of ever increasing amounts.
Yes.
Because really, a job is just over broke for most people, and it's no longer secure or safe as it used to be.
A lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. How do people like that save 10%? Do you think scaling back their lifestyle, maybe moving to a smaller house, a smaller apartment, not going from 3 cars to 2 cars, or something like that, do you think that would help them to save the 10% or more in order to invest and increase their income?
We live in one of the most affluent times in history. And we also live in one of the most consumer materialistic times in history, where people have this gotta-have mentality. And so that has an effect on people's ability to save. Of course, consumerism is what industry wants because it creates money. But every single person, who has any sort of income can save 10%. Because the reality is, let's say a person was on government assistance. I don't know what it's called here, but if back in Australia it's called Centrelink or New Start Allowance or some sort of social security benefit. Now they get a certain amount that is for them to live, and they might say, "Well, I can't save 10%. I already have more bills than I have money." Well, the truth is, if you keep going down the same path, you will still, in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, have more bills than you have money. Because, see, that comes back to a person's paradigm. About 80% of the people live in a mindset called they spend more than they earn. That's a mindset. It's not actually how much money you earn. Wealth has got nothing to do with how much money you earn. It's got to do with what you use or what you do with what you earn. Another 15% will spend what they earn, but 5% of the population will spend less than they earn. Wealthy people work on a very similar formula to broke people. People who don't have money What they do is they get their income, they subtract from that their expenses, and they save what's left. The challenge with that formula is there's nothing left. Wealthy people get their income, they subtract from that their savings, and they spend what's left. Just slightly different. And see, if a person was on Social Security, and if the government said, we can't afford to pay everyone this amount of money every month, we've got to now cut that back by 10%, the question is, would you survive? See, everyone would survive on 10% less of what they got now. They'd have to find a way. You can't say, well, I'm not going to survive, I'm going to walk off the planet, that's it, I'm over. You actually find a way. And so that's the decision you've got to make. You've got to make a decision to say, I am going to save 10% for wealth creation purposes. It's not for holidays, it's not for buying a new car, it's not for anything else other than it's the seeds of your wealth creation tree, I call it. Plant the seeds. The book I read that really helped me understand this was The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason. I was in Chapter's bookstore today and I saw they had copies there, so I know it's still available. The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason, and it tells you exactly this, that the first rule of becoming wealthy is pay yourself first. Everyone can pay themselves first. Now you might not think that, but you can if you make a decision.
I agree. Thank you. Going to move on to my next question. What advice do you have for young people that may be watching this video right now about money management? By young people, I mean kids that are in school, college, university, because they don't teach anything about money management in school. What advice do you have for young people?
But first thing is pay yourself first. Whether you have a part-time job, just to get some extra money to live, whatever it is, start the habit of paying yourself first. Now, I can say this from my own experience because I started this when we were absolutely broke. We were on a Social Security benefit. We were 3 months behind our rent. We were about to be evicted from our house. We had our phone cut off. We were about to have our electricity cut off. And I had bills up to here. So overwhelmed, I was scared to open up the mail. And this is when I first started to understand the secret. I started to understand how the mind worked because I was in such a desperate situation. I had to figure out what to do. And the first principle I learned is to pay yourself first. And I thought, well, regardless of what my bills are, I can't pay them even if I work for the rest of my life if I don't actually look after me first. And it's really an important decision. So I tell parents to teach their children this at 3 and 4 and 5 years old. Start with even pocket money by putting 10% aside into a separate account. And so I used to actually, with my Social Security check, back then we didn't have internet transfer, I would go down to the bank, I would draw out 10% the moment money come in, I would go to another bank, and I set up a separate bank account to put my wealth creation money in. I put it into the wealth creation account, and I'd leave it and not touch it. Every fortnight I'd do that. And so this is what is really important for kids in school, college, university, and so on, is to actually start by saving 10% of their income, regardless of where it's coming from, regardless of how little it is. If a person gets $100, put $10 aside. That's it. That you live on $90. Now, I also agree in the method of tithing, so I say take 10% out in tithe and 10% out for wealth. So live on 80%, depending on a person's belief. But I believe that really is healthy stewardship of money. So that's the first principle, and start that wealth creation account. Now, once it starts to build, you can then start to learn what to do with it. You can then look at how to invest that wisely. Don't just give it to anyone. Don't just believe that people are going to make you money with it. Don't use it for holidays or cars, or if something breaks down, you do not use that. That is the wealth creation account. Don't uproot it. Don't destroy it by using it for something that's not going to create wealth.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. I would like to add something to that, if that's okay with you. One other thing that's important in North America, whether you're in Canada or USA, is credit and your credit history. Uh, I'm not a big fan of using credit and getting into debt because I've been there, and it was much easier to get into debt than to get out of it. What I recommend for young people and anybody that's watching this video is, yes, have a credit card or 2 credit cards, but make sure you pay off the balance every month, because this way you build your credit. When you want to go and buy a house, you need a mortgage, they're going to be looking at your credit history. Whether you're leasing or financing a car, they're going to be looking at your credit history. So that's extremely important if you live in North America.
Well, just to add to that, I used a credit card when I first started to buy shares. So I actually, I saved up, my first saving I got up to $2,000 and I bought some shares, and then I figured I could get a credit card and I could draw the money out of that and I could make a higher percentage on that, on buying safe, secure blue chip shares and trading them than the company was charging me in interest. And so that's how I started. I literally built an account starting off with $8,000 to $150,000 in 3 years, starting from $2,000 of my own money and money I drew out of a credit card and a personal loan. So yeah, use debt wisely. People fall into the trap of thinking that they've got to have things now, and they use credit cards for things that they have to have now, and that is really a big trap.
Yes.
But if you're in it, it doesn't mean to say you have to stay in it. I can show a person, regardless of the situation, how to be in the positive and be worth over $1 million in less than 15 years, just doing their same job without any extra income, just by saving the 10% and investing it wisely. So that's the hope for people.
Yes, that's a great answer. Thanks for that. I'm going to move on to my next question. So you mentioned a few books, the Bible, Think and Grow Rich, and there was another book that you mentioned. Are there any other books that you would recommend that people read to become more successful and for having greater prosperity, better health in their lives? Because prosperity is more than money. It's health and happiness as well.
Yes,
So.
Absolutely. It's one of the things I realise more and more as I get older, that health is as or more important than money. Doesn't mean to say we should have one or the other. We need to have both, along with happiness, because otherwise we're not fulfilled. But as far as books go, I'm really careful what I recommend to people, because people can get wrong information. There's a lot of books written out there that are good for the bookshop and good for the author, not good for the reader. And I have some basic books that I keep reading and rereading over and over again. And I mentioned the Bible, of course, and I don't care whether a person's a Christian or not. There are so many lessons to do with health, prosperity, and happiness in the Bible, that even if you're not a Christian, read the stories. Read the stories for the value you can get out of it. But also then Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is really my cornerstone book. I reread that book every year. In fact, I carry it around with me almost everywhere I go. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. Now, that's a harder book to read. I wouldn't recommend you read that until first of all you've read Think and Grow Rich. It is a harder book to read, but there is a wealth of information in that book. Regards health, I'm recently partnered with Dr. Fab Mancini. And Dr. Fab Mancini has written a number of books on how to heal yourself. Healing and health is far more to do with the mindset than it is the external circumstances of what's called disease. And so there's so many things that we're learning, we understand about health. And Dr. Fab says one of the biggest problems in society today is this dependence on pharmaceutical medicines and doctors, and that people, or the biggest cause of disease or ill health, is because the body is not doesn't have nutrition at the cellular level. And so he said, if you can actually take a person and you can give them the proper nutrition, their bodies can heal themselves. The body was actually is a healing center. It's been created, designed to heal itself. You only got to cut yourself and see how quickly it heals. The body's always trying to heal itself. The challenge is today we have there's so many packaged products and boxed products where it has no nutritional value. And so what happens is we're consuming foods, and even fruit and vegetables are grown on land where the soil is deficient or depleted of vitamins and minerals and nutrients. And so even the very fruit and vegetables we're eating are not giving us the proper nutrients. And so we have to actually do something to supplement that. And one of the biggest things we can do is get nutrients into the cells to actually help heal the body. So read the books around that. I remember listening years ago when I first started on this journey to a gentleman called Charlie Tremendous Jones. He was a guy out of the US. He was in Australia, and he said, you will become, in 5 years from now, the books you read, the people you meet, and back then the tapes you listen to, or the audios you listen to. And it's the same today. In 5 years, 10 years time from now, you can choose to do nothing with this information, and you will be the same. You'll have the same circumstances. You'll be complaining about life just the same. Or you can change your life. And it's the people you meet, and you've met us on here. People you meet, the books you read. Spend time daily reading personal development, listening to personal development. And of course then the audios you listen to. I have audios in the car when I'm driving. Turn your car into a university. Listen to people who are successful and learn from them. Not everything you're going to take on board, but there's so much information out there where you literally, people driving backward and forwards to work, within 3 or 4 years, just listening to audios, they've done a whole university degree on success. So take that time and learn.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I myself do that as well.
Yes.
I listen to motivational stuff, biblical stuff when I'm driving to work and back.
Yes.
Yeah.
But those are really some of the key books, though, that I've listened to. And there's other books like Genevieve, Behrend, Your Invisible Power that I love. There's sort of a small collection of books that I have that are my go-to books that I go back. I've got a massive library, bigger than most, but I tend to always come back to those core books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the most successful people, I totally agree with that. Some of the most successful people read books, more books than you can even imagine. And one of the greatest examples of that is Bill Gates. I believe he reads like one book a month or more than that. He has a documentary on Netflix, and I just found out that he reads more books than I thought he does. And that's not just the case with Bill Gates. A lot of successful people read books all the time, and that's how they increase their knowledge.
Yes.
You get wisdom from that as well. So I totally agree with that. Reading books is extremely important.
Yeah, I was actually not a good student in English. In fact, I almost failed English in my senior years. And I hated reading. I absolutely hated reading. And the very first book that actually caught my attention, other than the 2 books I had to read to pass my English test, was How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I read that book, and that book changed my life. I was extremely shy. I couldn't talk to people, didn't want to talk to people. And I read that book and realised how important it is to actually talk to people and learn the skills of communication. A lot of kids don't have that these days. The skills they're too busy looking at their phone. They don't have the skills of communication. Read that book; it'll change your life. And so, I from that point onwards, I started to read books. I try and read a book a week. Now, if you look at that, if you read a book a week, that's 52 books a year. That's 520 books in 10 years. Now, you can read more than that, or you can read less than that, but just start reading, because a book will change your life.
Yeah.
And don't just read fiction. Read inspiration. Read how people have overcome, and that's really important, because we all go through challenges, and we need inspiration. And so read stories of people. Everyone who's successful at some time wasn't. And they've got a story of how they've gone from absolutely nothing to achieve what they've achieved.
I agree. And you should feed your mind positive stuff like what David was just saying, because there's a lot of negativity out there in the world right now, especially right now. And if you're watching the news every day, you know what I mean. So I recommend that you stay away from negative things, and don't feed your stuff, don't feed your mind negative things. Don't read bad news, don't watch bad news. I personally stay away from that kind of stuff. One of the people that I follow is Ed Mylett. He's a Christian, and I've read a book by him. So I also read a lot of books. I try to read as much as I can. Maybe not one a week, but at least one a month, or maybe one every 2 months.
Yes.
And he wrote a book called Max Out Your Life. So I highly recommend you check out Ed Mylett and his book Max Out Your Life. You will be blessed by it. So any other books other than the Bible and the book that I just mentioned and the books that you mentioned? Any other book that you can think of that comes to your mind?
Heaps of books, but I think those, the Think and Grow Rich, Science of Getting Rich, George S. Clason's book, The Richest Man in Babylon. Those sort of books are the core books. I study trading. I study investing. There's a lot of investing books out there that are not even worth the paper they're written on. But I really, I study a lot of W.D. Gann's work. Gann was one of the most successful traders ever to live, and so I study his material. That's sort of, I suppose, my short list.
Okay. Yeah, great. Thank you. I'm going to move on to my next question, which is actually my final question. I know you're involved in businesses and social media. Can you tell us more about that and share it with the people that that are watching this video right now? Things that you would, that you're working on, things that you'd like to share with them.
Yeah, I've been involved in business practically all my life, and I've built numerous businesses. I've had a business in educating people about the stock market for many years. As I said before, I renovate property. I do a number of things around that. Look at property to develop, but all of that has evolved. Sometimes people can look at people and say, I could never do that. I couldn't do any of that either, and so I don't want to overwhelm people with information. I've just recently was approached by a company to help them launch a new network marketing company around the world. That's quite exciting to me because it has huge potential, huge opportunity. It's in a space of health and wellness. It's actually a rapidly growing market that I believe that's going to, right now that space is about a $4.7 trillion in and it's continuing to grow. As people get older, they want to look younger, they want to feel younger. People in the younger age spectrum are don't having the energy. They're getting overwhelmed with stress and workload and so on. And so any products that can help people in that area is going to grow. And so one of the areas that we looked at was even energy drinks. And there's a lot of sugar-filled, caffeine-filled energy drinks out there. Well, if you look at that, that's a $280 billion market. Just energy drink, and it's growing rapidly. And so, an all natural, healthy energy drink has got to have a market space. And so, those sorts of things are things that I look at. But I say to people, find something that you can be passionate about, and the money will come. And so, every person has a skill set, but also skill sets can be developed, and so I encourage people to build businesses even outside of their job. And so, there's things we can do with social media, the attraction marketing model that around social media is quite massive. Like you're doing this here, people are going to watch this video. There's a whole attraction to that, and so if you provide good content on social media, you can make money from that. And so, yeah, that's some of the things I'm working on, and as I said before, I constantly am aware or looking for where the market's going and business opportunities. I don't think we can ever be stagnant and stationary, because what what people are using today, are excited about today, they aren't tomorrow, and so we've got to actually understand that to a degree, but we've also got to then work with what excites us. Because if people are doing something they don't like, and a lot of people do, a lot of people go to work every day doing stuff they don't like, and that creates a high degree of stress. It actually kills a person. It kills their dreams. It kills their desires. It kills their love life, their passions, and so on. And if that's you, find a way you can get out of that. Find a way you can move into doing something that brings you joy and brings you pleasure. And because that's the third part of prosperity. It's not just wealth and health, it's happiness as well. And if you're doing something that 8, 9, 10 hours a day that you're not excited about, not happy about, then what's the sense in life?
Yes.
Do something that excites you. And one of the biggest things that can excite you is helping other people succeed. That's one of my loves. Is actually helping a person going from this situation and getting out of that and going to here, and then hearing their story and seeing them. Like that really excites me. And look at other people you can help.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to do with this YouTube platform. I'm trying to help as many people as I can to help them succeed and grow and become successful, prosperous, healthy, and happy. I think ultimately what all of us are looking for is happiness, whether that's your work, your health, family, whatever it may be. The ultimate goal I think all of us are looking for is happiness. So
Yes.
I hope you guys are happy with this video, my first podcast. Thank you very much, David, for joining us all the way from Australia. I really enjoyed this interview with you. And all of you guys that are watching this video, I recommend that you subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I may even be giving stuff out because I want to spread the word and build my brand, because nobody knows who I am. This is my first time I'm doing it, and I thank you guys for watching this video, and I appreciate your support. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. My Instagram handle is Dinesh Canada, and Twitter is also Dinesh Canada. That's at DINESH Canada, CANADA. Again, thank you guys for joining us today, and thanks again, David.
Awesome.
I really
Thanks,
appreciate
Dinesh.
it.
Look forward to the next one.
Yes, amen.
Okay.
Be blessed.